welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Mint, and today we are sitting down for one of the last few episodes of our 8 Crazy Nights of Rye, and today we are discussing Knob Creek Rye. So this is a single barrel select Knob Creek Rye, and it's 115 proof. So before we dive too much into this bad boy, though, we want to make sure we let you know who's on the podcast today. We got Travis and Nick. How we doing, fellas?
Doing well.
Awesome.
Good. And we also want to let you know that today's episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk is sponsored by Matt Wagner with Oxenus Partners Wealth Management. Matt specializes in strategic, financial, and investment planning. I've personally worked with Matt for numerous years and appreciate his honest and straightforward approach. He and his team have personally helped me and others that I know with all of our investing needs. Oxenus currently has 2 locations, one in downtown Jeffersonville, the other in the heart of St. Matthews. For a no-obligation consultation, please call Matt at 502-432-1401. So 8 Crazy Nights of Rye. We are diving in on a Knob Creek single barrel. This one, I believe, was a Cox's pick, if I remember correctly. It says BWI number 1 honey barrel, but it's a Fred No. So this is an old school. It's got the placard. Matter of fact, I think a few episodes ago we were talking about these, and we were talking about the actual bourbons, not the actual ryes. But Nick, what do we know about these?
Yeah, definitely the older one with the plastic placard. That's one of the hallmark signs. I don't know what year officially they switched over, but I know recently they just started the paper ones. But at 115 proof, Knob Creek, kind of looking forward to this. I haven't had this in a good while. So
yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think these are in the 6 to 8 year range. Most of them are. So they are a little bit older. They've got a good color to them. I mean, if you by looking at it, for your rye and things to that nature. So
and this is a pick, right?
This is a pick. Yep. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this was a Cox's Evergreen pick, or what would have been before Cox's bought like the place there off of Westport Road. What was that? What was that liquor store before Cox's bought it? Do you remember? I can't either. Anyway, that's where I bought this one. That was kind of one of my little honey holes I used to shop at all the time, and I bought it there. And this was the second bottle that I bought there of this particular pick, because I actually kind of enjoyed this one. So, but I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think and kind of go in from there. Travis, I know you were talking that you weren't super versed on the Knob Creek Ryes. Is it just because you're just not a big bean fan, or what?
The ones that I had tasted previous to this were just kind of aggressive and hot and a little bit of a mess. This one is definitely still hot. It's big. It's clearly a rye. It's hanging. It makes its presence known for sure, but I actually really like it. I did not expect to like it. It's a little complex. It's very well put together. Got some good sweetness. It's very viscous. Hangs. It lingers. It gives you your kind of typical bourbon type notes. That sweetness, kind of brown sugar stuff, but also the big kind of typical rye notes there. I like it. I was prepared to not like this, so
I bought this one for the nose. Like whenever the first time I tried it and I pulled it open and I smelled it, like it's got a really, really welcoming nose to it, especially for a rye, because a lot of times you get a little bit of heat and burn even on the nose with a rye.
Yeah, you do pick up some of that extra spice, like on that the back of the palate. It does have a nice, like, longer finish.
Yeah. The nose does not prepare you for the palate.
Yeah, and I think part of that's the 115 proof, right? I mean, when you get these things in their barrel picks and their single barrels, and I know they water all of them down to that 115 level, but or at least blend them to that point. But with it being a single barrel, they would have brought it back down to that. It definitely gives it something unique. The one thing that this has mint on it, and I don't typically like a mint on a rye, but this one I've always enjoyed, and I think it's because it gives me more of that spearmint, not peppermint.
And it's not intense, though. It's just a compliment.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like a chewing gum.
That's what I said, like spearmint, like double mint gum. Like that's where I was, like Wrigley's double mint gum. That's where I was picking up.
Does you still get that sweetness with the gum? It's not overbearing.
But I do. I just love the nose on this.
It doesn't have front, like when I sip it, I don't get it. But again, that palate, I mean, it kind of just goes up like a roller coaster, and then it kind of comes down, which is nice.
Yeah, there's not much on the entry. You're right. Yeah. But once you swallow it, it's all over you.
Yeah, this is definitely a mid to back to finish palate finisher. Like the rye really hits in that mid part all the way back into the back of your throat. But it still isn't like, it's not collar burn. Like it's not getting all the way down to the collar. I mean, it's got a good finish. It's just
For
A little hotter.
for 115 proof, I don't think it necessarily drinks like 115 proof. I
No.
don't get that super burn. I don't get a lot of it on the nose where it's just like, I have to take a step back and revisit it. Let it air out a little bit, but not a bad pour.
Yeah. Do you know how long they've been making these Knob Creek ryes?
I don't. I mean, I can go back to the old trusty Google.
The old Google. 'Cause it seems like
5 years probably. 17, 18, somewhere in there.
Is that when they started releasing them, like 17, 18?
I'm just guessing.
Seems like it was a little earlier than that. But you probably know better than I do, Travis. I mean, honestly, I just remember buying this probably about 2 to 3 years ago. And if they were already releasing, 6 to 8 year product, I got to believe they were probably releasing them probably in, 2012, something like that. But
No, they weren't back that far.
that far?
Not the picks, no.
All right. Google. I know. He's going at it. I love it. Nick, that's usually your job, Nick. What do you know, man?
I know. Travis took
Well,
over.
I did a pick in one of our local groups, and I'm trying to find that. I'm not Googling it.
Oh, you're not Googling. You're looking
Oh.
to see when you did your pick, huh?
So I can maintain my
Because we did one of the first
Googliness.
ones.
Googliness. That is one of my favorite lines. Like, what is that from? The
I think it's
internship.
The internship.
Yeah.
The googliness.
What was that? Vince Vaughn and I always get the
Owen-
Wilson brothers.
Owen Wilson.
It's Owen Wilson.
I'm
Okay,
pretty sure so.
I get those two confused all the time, and I probably shouldn't. But he's definitely my favorite of the two Wilson brothers. I think my wife likes Luke Wilson because he's the handsome one.
So we got ours in 2018, March of 18. So they started them maybe mid to late 17.
Do you know if they had this?
Yeah, that would be one of the older ones.
Okay, so probably 16, 17. You're thinking at the
I think
at the
it's
very
17 because
earliest.
we did it right after it started, and we got it in March of 18.
Gotcha.
It was the frosty bunghole.
The frosty bun. What? That's
It was like 22
Okay.
degrees that day when we picked it.
So it looks like 2015 is kind of when they dropped the rye. So I'd probably say a year or two after that. So that puts it right in line.
Yeah.
with
No,
that.
that 100% puts it
So
right in
I'm
line
seeing
where he was at.
I'm seeing an early one in 2015.
Okay.
So
they've been doing these for 6 or 7 years then, basically. I'll tell you what, like I said, this is one of the ones that I like to keep on my shelf. I like to have it around. I like to especially make cocktails out of this one because it holds up. Like you get there's enough spice to it. You can definitely put it out there. You can put it with old fashioned. I actually like making whiskey sours with it.
I could definitely
see
see this.
that.
I could definitely see this as your cocktail one. I mean, it has that higher proof
Yep.
that I expect with the cocktail.
Yep.
All for it.
But I love this with a whiskey sour. I would typically throw that in there and get a little lime juice and an egg white and shake the shit out of it and go from there, man. It's a pretty solid way to make that. So.
And if you've seen the Booker's Rye out there and you're envious of it and not going to spend the money, here's the little brother. So go for it.
I swear to God, for a second there, I thought you said Booger's Rye. And I'm like, what is he saying?
I got my Kentucky drawl going on.
Got your Kentucky drawl going on.
Says the boy from California.
That's right. Booker's Rye is what he said, folks. So and that's me being, I guess, childlike and infant-like because I thought he said booger. Yep. So, yeah, you're right. This is definitely the little brother in that situation of the Bookers. But like I said, I still think this is just a good, solid drinker, something that, people are going to want. They're easy to find, which is one of the other reasons why I love these things. They're not super hard to find.
Retail's like $60.
Yeah, $56.99 to $59.99 I think is pretty standard, even for a store pick. I mean, I think that's about where they land at, so.
Yeah, and I don't see too many of these on like your secondary or anything else like that, unless it's like the older stuff. So it should be again easily able to find.
Yeah, no, I've seen at least a good 8 different stores, in the Louisville market. Now, most of them are, your big ones, Cox's, Liquor Barn, Total Wine, things like that. They all got store picks of these things sitting around. I don't know, did Justin's have any of these?
No, rye is a tough seller to the general market.
Really? Yeah.
So
People get a little skittish. I mean, even like at the low rye, like your Wild Turkey at 51%.
Right.
They see rye and they're like, oh no.
Well, this is like more like your traditional Kentucky rye. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, the mash bill was something like 55% rye, and then went on up from corn from there. So, I mean, it's not your crazy harsh.
yeah,
super-
it's been a tough one, I think, for them because the whiskey nerds typically aren't infatuated with it, and then the masses are not quite into rye. So it's had to struggle. That's why you don't see it on the secondary market. But
I also think people,
if it sounds good to you, I mean, it's there. You should take it.
Yeah. Well, I also think that, Knob Creek, people kind of sleep on Knob Creek, other than, if you can get lucky enough to get one of those 14-year-old bourbons or 15-year-old bourbons. I think people kind of sleep on these. And I don't really know why. I mean, I think a lot of those, especially anything north of, 11 to 12 years, I think are all pretty good, solid, bourbons especially.
So they don't do the 15-year single barrel barrel picks anymore, but they do release, like they have the 15-year that's all over town, and people don't care about that at all, but I think it's awesome whiskey.
It is a good pour. I do
That's
think
my go-to at the bar. Anywhere I go, if they have it, it's cheap. I'm all over it.
I feel like they kind of missed the button on it, or missed the bus, I guess, because of the fact that I think they could have made it a higher proof.
They had the what was that Blue Label 120 proof 12-year?
12-year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, look,
12.
they've struggled for years with their marketing and their product mix. I mean, I don't think that they knew what they were doing, and they have so much whiskey, but also not. They don't have as much of the old stuff as you think they do, but they didn't want to just release it as single barrel picks, so they started doing these different labels. The 15-year, that 12-year 120 proof was one of the best releases of, what was it, 2020?
Yeah,
about a year ago.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, everybody and their mom had one there for a while there, so I don't know. Yeah, maybe Beam did kind of miss the bus on that. I don't know. But I feel like they kind of tried to go the Old Forester route, though, right? Like rebrand. They came out with the 12-year. They came out with the 15-year. They've done a couple of other things that have pivoted and moved. So maybe that's their whole philosophy, But they also haven't gouged on prices. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, these are all pretty much the same price they were, 3-4 years ago. I mean, maybe $5 more. I mean, not a ton. So I don't know.
It's just, to me, the one thing that I think is what people like about most Jim Beam products is they are kind of aggressive on the flavor profile. They are spicy. Even Basil Hayden's at 80 proof still has a strong kind of, spicy flavor profile to it for its proof. But Booker's, Baker's, Knob Creek, I think Jim Beam, big, spicy baking spice, this Knob Creek rye that we're drinking is no different. So I think it does turn a lot of people off as they're new into bourbon.
Right.
They love Basil Hayden's, but they don't drink Knob Creek.
They like that lower proof and those more sweet profiles.
Yep.
So they want all that sugar and caramel and
Yep.
What is it, sweet and nice or sweet and everything nice? I forget how that line goes, but that's
sugar and spice and everything nice.
Yeah, just minus the spice, I guess.
Yeah, so blands.
They want the pretty figurines on top.
Absolutely. So, well, I think, like we said, we've got to rate these bad boys and throw them out there. So for me, this is I'm going to go 7.5.
I was going to go 7.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. There was something else I tasted that I would rate a little lower, and pretty much everything else a little bit above that. So I'm right there with you guys.
7.5.
This is it's fine to me. It's good quality whiskey. Everything else that we talked about considered into this, I think, could bump it a little higher. It's accessible, and it's a bit unique being higher proof. So yeah, I mean, that whiskey on the scale of all whiskeys ever, like, okay, it's right in the middle of the road, but for what it is, I think that gives it a bump.
Yeah,
I need to create an algorithm so we can do like price and what our scale is for taste and availability. And
I love it. We're gonna have the Nick Hayden Excel spreadsheet of how we justify whether bourbon is what.
How many decimal places is that going to be?
I don't know.
We'll figure something out. Well, Nick will figure something out. He already said he was going to do it. So anyway. Well, all right. I think that's enough for this episode. If you want to get a Knob Creek, we definitely say, hey, go get it. Like I said, I think they're great with cocktails and go from there. So if you want to find us at Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also email us at bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. Like we've been talking about with Travis since he's been here just about the entire series we've been running here. If you want to talk to him or have any questions, or if you want to get a tasting or things like that, you can hit him up at teachbourbon.com. And he'll be more than glad to hook you up in that situation. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. As always, this is Scott, Nick, and Travis signing off. Peace.